As badly as we wanted to be parents together, we had to ask the question, Lord, what did you really make us for? And when we look and consult the scriptures, we're not promised a spouse or children or that any of our prayers would be answered, but we know that God has made us to know him, so to become disciples, and that we are also made to make him known, to make disciples. And if he asked us to make disciples, he would give us people in our life to disciple, and it didn't have to be our own children. So when I was around 12 years old, I was diagnosed at a very early age with polycystic ovarian disease and had some complications with endometriosis and had lots of hormonal health complications all through high school and through college, but they really came to like a culmination and a tipping point of severity when we got married, and Bryce was in the middle of trying to go through pharmacy school, so that was already a stressful season, and I'm so thankful he just was able to be so steadfast for me. I was told from a very young age that I probably would not be able to have children, and that was honestly, at the time, it felt like such a weight and a burden to carry, but it truly was a gift because whenever we started trying to start a family within our first year of marriage, we were able to have very realistic expectations and weren't blindsided by infertility.
And looking through that time of of an uncertainty, not really knowing kind of what was next, I was a little more optimistic than what Kay was just kind of throughout that journey.
Which is the norm. He's much more of an optimist, and I would call myself a realist, borderline pessimist.
Just being able to have the conversation of adoption, like what our family could look like, even if we couldn't have our own biological children. That adoption was a very real, very open idea to us of what kind of knew what that journey would look like a little bit.
After about 3 to 4 years of infertility, we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, we've always wanted to adopt, so why not just start that process? And so we could pursue adoption, and simultaneously, if along the way we were surprised with a pregnancy or something, that would be a gift too. But about 4 years into our marriage, we started our adoption process at that point. And that started a process of quite a few failed adoptions over the years. We had 4 adoptions, 4 matches that were very close, and those just ended in different heartbreaking ways. One birth mom had a miscarriage. A birth mom disappeared a week or 2 right before a baby was born that she asked us to adopt, and just a few other situations. And those were some very hard days. We did not understand what God was doing.
Looking back at that time, it just really just showed the importance of just us being together, of us being on the same page, but also just the community around us, just being a part of a church body that just cared so much for us. Here it comes. And just loved us so well through that. And that the hope wasn't in a child. The hope wasn't that one day we would be parents, but that our hope was in God. That was just it was a hard lesson at first, but so thankful looking back on it now.
It's such a comfort to know that we serve the God who can answer any prayer that we have. He sees the desires of our heart. But more than that, he has met our greatest need, and we needed him. We needed a relationship with him, and that hope has been so comforting. The Lord during these processes has been 10 years, for a decade of our life. The people around us and just the Holy Spirit teaching us to cling to God's character. He is faithful because he's faithful. That's who he is. He answering our prayers the way that we would want them to be answered does not make him faithful. Our chaotic or undesirable circumstances don't determine his character. His character is constant. And in any season, a mountaintop experience or the darkest valley, like his presence is what provides peace for us. A few months before our daughter Reese was born, I found out I was pregnant after 10 years of infertility, and then ended up having a miscarriage the week before she was born. And I'm so thankful. I mean, it was obviously such a hard thing, but the Lord had already bolstered our faith so much, and he had taught us to run to him right away.
In the summer of 23, we were able to be matched with Reese's birth mom, Dee Dee. Yeah, it was just a funny day on the day of her delivery. It was, we got there around 6 in the morning, got to the hospital. It was a long day. It was in and out of the room. We were able to be in the room whenever Reese was born. We got to cut the cord. We got to be, just be able to hold her in her first moments of life and be in the room whenever the NICU team came in. They had to work on her for a little while just to make sure that her lungs were good, that she was breathing properly. What was so comforting and so just was such a huge blessing that the Lord provided us was in those moments of just pain and discomfort that Reese was experiencing while in the hospital, that the one thing that brought her comfort was being in our arms, being held by us, us speaking to her, singing to her, or just doing skin to skin with her. And that was just such a huge thing that we were just worried about what was that bonding process going to look like with her.
Yeah, bonding in adoption situations is such a unpredictable thing, and it was such a kindness of the Lord to allow that first week of her life to be nothing but bonding with her. And it seemed like such a miserable experience for us. We were trapped in a hospital watching her go through the hardest week of her life. But really, when we look back, it really set such a foundation of our family and just a bond as a family. And so as we just look through this whole 10 years of this adoption story, like, it just seems like some of our most undesired circumstances really were examples of the Lord's kindness and his preparation and protection for what he had in store for us in the future.
Now, Reese is a little over a year old now, and she's thriving. We love her so much, and just be able to see how the Lord has just protected her and just grown her over this last year, and just the bond that we have, just the desire that she has to be with us, and to just that she knows that we're her people.
I think Psalm 73 has been such a comfort for us. Just the idea that our heart and our flesh will fail. We're prone to doubt, and we're prone to being uncomfortable and disappointed and putting our hope in the wrong things. Our heart and our flesh will fail, but the Lord is the strength of our heart, and he's our portion forever. And I love that idea that he's our portion. He is more than enough. He satisfies. And then later in the psalm, he says that to be near to God is for my good. And I've made the Lord, the sovereign Lord, my refuge. And I just can't think of a better way to sum up what he's taught us in the last decade of our life, that he's our refuge. When we go through hard seasons and valleys, we kind of go through this process of like, okay, Lord, you're all I have. And then he leads us closer to himself, and we were like, okay, Lord, you're all that I need. I really do believe you're not just what I have, but you're what I need. And then in his kindness, he brings us to a place of saying, Lord, you're all that I want. You're more than enough. And then we forget, and we have to learn it all again in a new season. But we're just so thankful to be able to share how much the Lord and his character has comforted us, and that he's where our hope is. And so we're so thankful for that.